Alright, I want to do a little discussion about the a priori a posteriori distinction. First of all, there are a few definitions within philosophy that are within the a priori a posteriori distinction. You'll find this everywhere within philosophy. You know, a lot of this distinction will be found in Kantian works. He also kind of gives the analytic synthetic distinction. Analytic is something is analytic. There are various definitions on this, but analytic preposition means it's true in virtue of the predicates, or of the meaning of the predicates. Like the term bachelors are unmarried men, which is a very widely used example within analytic philosophy. So, what does a priori mean? A priori, for one, it means prior to experience. You know, Kant, in his Critique of Pure Reason, talks about you know, a possibility of a priori intuition. You know, and I'm doing this video because I'm leaning towards not believing in this distinction anymore. On the analytic synthetic distinction, Willard Van Orman Quine already kind of, you know, showed how this is not a very good distinction in his paper Two Dogmas of Empiricism. Is the two dogmas are analyticity and reductionism. That is a groundbreaking paper in epistemology to read. If you want to know things about contemporary epistemology, I highly recommend reading Quine's papers. Two Dogmas of Empiricism being one, on what there is being another. And there are also various kinds. There's natural kinds, natural or epistemology naturalized. You know, there's various different things here from Quine. Sorry, I just woke up. I'm kind of not so light on my feet in speech. Okay, so a priori. What does a priori mean within philosophy? First of all, within philosophy, it means prior to experience. There are empirical matters and there are experiential matters. So this might be hard for one to understand if you don't really know a whole lot of philosophy. But a priori really just is all of this that you see is experiential. Once you are sentient, none of what you see is a priori. It's all a posteriori. A posteriori is based on experience. So I guess my thought is where do we get the idea of the possibility of being something being a priori or a priori intuition? And there is another definition of a priori which will make you understand a little bit. A priori is also defined as understanding by reason or proposition by reason alone, and this, you know, is I don't know if you know anything about the philosophy of religion or the traditional arguments for the existence of God, but the ontological argument is one, and that is the argument that is a priori. It's a basically it's by Anselm, who said, well, if we can have the conception of an all perfect being of God in our mind, then he must exist. Blah 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 blah. So reason alone. What is reason? Is a priori is proposition or whatever by reason alone. And the a priori and a posteriori most definitely refers to propositions, rather than knowledge or anything like that. If we're in analytic philosophy. Reason. What is meant by reason? Reason is this. Could be referred to as a logical framework in your mind that is there immediately when you are born and beforehand. And now this would relate immediately to this idea of innate ideas. Innate ideas is kind of a term that is loosely related to the a priori. Innate ideas is something I've talked about with Descartes and Locke. In modern philosophy, Descartes talked about it in his meditations. Descartes talked about innate ideas. Innate ideas are this reason, or innate. Innate means within, always within. Pretty much, it's a very loose definition of innate. An innate idea is this, or innate ideas is this group of ideas that are always within you, no matter what experiential things go on in sentience. Innate ideas are things that are always going to be within you, whether there's experience or not. Descartes believed in these, and Descartes argued this in the second meditation, I think, even the, well, it was the wax argument, but I'm not sure if the wax was in the second or third. I think it was the second meditation. And I have a video about the wax argument. The wax argument is like, well, we have this wax. It's honeycomb wax. You can taste it, feel it, smell it. It has all these, empirical features. And then we put it by, like really close to the fire, and this wax melts. It's a liquid form. So, is it the same wax? Because the wax that is solid and has certain empirical properties, and the wax is liquid and has other wholly new empirical properties. Obviously, within experience, within empirical evidence, is not the same thing. And I think that he has a really good point there, that they are two very different things. The hard wax and the liquid wax, they are two very different things. And he says that he's like, well, how do we know that the hard wax, which becomes liquid wax, how do we know that they are the same wax? How do we know? He says it's by innate ideas, by reason, which is always within us, no matter what experience comes along. That is how we know the same wax is there, whether it's solid or liquid. Actually, it's a pretty valid argument. I think he has a very good point there. But in my opinion, he shows something. He shows a very good thing about experience. I do not believe in innate ideas. I don't believe that we can understand a proposition by reason alone. And if we're going to relate the idea of understanding a proposition by reason alone to a priori, then I do not believe in a priori either. I believe it's possible for that to be a priori before sentience, and like immediately at the very beginning of sentience until you first experience something. But in that very a priori like period of one's life, like just before and at the very beginning of sentience, before you experience something, you don't know anything. You know nothing. I'm talking like in the womb, like, you know, when you're a baby that is in a woman's belly, you know, that's there is a point when you are growing inside a woman's womb. When the sperm fertilizes the egg, there is no sentience. But then there's a point between when the sperm fertilizes the egg and birth that there is sentience. When none of us know, otherwise, you know, if we knew where sentience began in the womb, we would know when it's morally right to abort a child, and when it's morally wrong. But that's another matter. There is a time between when the sperm fertilizes the egg and birth. Actually, a long time before birth. Actually, there's a time between when the sperm fertilizes the egg and, you know, when the baby is like kicking and all that stuff within the womb, that sentience starts. It does, and we don't know about this, but when that sentience starts, and immediately before anything is really experienced, there is nothing in here. There is the framework to know something given empirical evidence. Thunderstorm. Okay, so we have the framework in our mind. A framework is not knowledge. We have the faculty to experience and know something given experience, but we have no innate ideas. We have no reason in here. And I think if there is any reason or logic, it comes from experience. It comes from the structure within experience. There's a framework given our brain and our mind and our body to experience something and to know things. But there's nothing reason within it. There's no reason within here as we enter sentience. There's nothing innate in here. Now I'm a Christian, so that could conflict with my Christianity, but I really don't think so. Yeah, so I don't think that the a priori a posteriori distinction is a good one. I think it's a very bad one, actually. I think that we are always a posteriori. There is a priori period, a very small a priori period, but that has no knowledge, no understanding of anything whatsoever.